consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalyn Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spots that activate your soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize.
Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode. This one's really juicy, all about stepping into your bold, unapologetic power. And today, this is specifically for you if you struggle with people pleasing, if you struggle with really saying no, and you end up saying yes. And we all know that doesn't feel really good, right? It's not aligned. This is for you if you're needing more inspiration to really step into your next level, to open up your throat chakra and speak your truth. So tune in. Before we go there, I want to let you know that my next Flourishing Life Coaching Certification 2-day immersion is coming up May 14th and 15th. This is for you if you want to really discover what the 10 critical success factors are to create a very resilient life with long-term sustainable results. This is an amazing certification to add to your tool belt so that you can really know how to hold spaces. Like, I really love teaching this to healers, light workers, body workers, intuitives, because it allows you to have a foundational framework, the flourishing framework, to really infuse your magic into this framework, but also knowing the transformational change. It is evidence-based on research, on strength-based resiliency, over 30 years of research. And it's been taken on looking at what's right with people and really building them up on their strengths so that this creates real results in their life and their business. So if you're interested, message me, Flourishing, on Instagram, you Bold Sexy Warrior, or on Facebook here at Bold Sexy Warrior, or you can message me at rosalynfung.com, Flourishing, and I'll send you a mini course to see if this is aligned for you and your values. I bet you it is. And then we'll get you enrolled. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce to you my special guest, one of my soul sisters. Alisha and I met actually when she joined my Client Attraction Academy program. And over time, just like, I love this woman. You guys are going to love her too. She is absolutely fun and bold and just so unapologetic. So let me share a little bit more with you about Alisha with an A. She's a sought-after speaker and influencer who leads women to say goodbye to people, places, and projects that no longer serve them and step into their most authentic self. For over a decade, Alisha has been an advocate for defying labels. After exiting the sex industry and leaving a toxic marriage, she decided she was going to start choosing herself and stepped into her true identity. Drawing from years of frontline experience, working with NGOs, creating peer support programs, appearing on panels, keynote speaking, human rights advocacy, body acceptance, and sexuality, she is an expert in the arts of self-expression and lives to please herself first. I told you, you guys, this is going to be a juicy episode. Welcome, love. I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. I woke up this morning. I felt like it was like Christmas Day. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, we're going to have so much fun. And we've had the pleasure to meet in real life because you don't live, when I lived in Edmonton, you live in Red Deer. So yeah, we got to hang out and really connect. I'd love for you to share your story is so powerful. Like I'm just blown away by your story, and I can't wait for the audience to really hear about it. So please do share with us, how did you get to be who you are today? Tell us your journey and be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, okay. How much time do we have here? So one of the parts of my story that I love to tell, because it's so important, and I think I might have told you too already, being an advocate or an activist it's in my blood. Like it was just always there. When I was about 11, the school had given us an assignment that we had to write an essay on an issue that we really cared about, something that was really important to us. And whoever got picked got to go in front of the school and read their essay and make it to provincials. So while the other kids were doing, recycling, things that, 11-year-olds would probably write about, that'd be important to them. Well, I decided to do mine on the rising rates of teen pregnancies in Wick. Well, what 11-year-old does that?
Topic.
It was very important because it was what I was actually seeing happening around me.
Yeah.
And the teachers were, flabbergasted, obviously, and they didn't know what to do because in their mind, they were like, oh my God, like we can't let her go and talk about this in front of the school. And my mom, being the mama bear that she was, said, no, like if you have to let her go. This was the assignment. And so I did get to read it. I got to go in front of the whole school and made provincials and got to talk about the rising rates of teen pregnancy.
What were people's reactions to that, love?
Well, unfortunately, or ironically, I guess would be the better word. Ironically, I actually ended up pregnant about a year later.
Mm-hmm.
So, reading my essay obviously didn't do much in that part, but my mother was a young mom too, though. My mother, she was very young when she had me as well. So that theme was kind of just in my life. But yeah, about a year later, I actually ended up pregnant myself. And this is kind of around the same time where all these people-pleasing things came from. And it's so funny. So the other night I was standing in the kitchen with my husband and I was making dinner, and it was just one of those nights, where you don't really feel like cooking up a big feast or anything like that. So I'm looking through the cupboard and I found this box of like pre-made casserole, like this lasagna. Yeah. So I'm making this dish and I start crying. Out of nowhere, I just start crying. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Why am I so sad? And I ended up ruining this. I'm like not good at making pre-made things for some reason. So I ended up ruining this. I don't know. If it's too easy,
I can't. I've been known to burn things in the microwave too, so you're not alone in that.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, if it's easy for me, it's going to be too hard for me to do. So I'm standing in the kitchen.
Things.
So I'm standing in the kitchen, I'm crying, and I'm trying to figure out what it is. I'm like, okay, what is my body trying to tell me right now? Like, there's something going on here. And I had this like memory come back to me from when I was about 12 years old. And so I love my mother. So when I say things about her, I want to make this very clear. I love her very much, but she had a lot of mental health issues, and it was not easy growing up having a single parent with such like vast mental health issues. And so
I'm sure you're not alone in that. So as the audience is tuning in, I'm sure some people are like, yeah, me too.
And it's so important to recognize that, because I do think most of us, more of us than not, grow up with parents that have some mental health issues, right? So she had phoned me before she was coming home from work, and she was having a bad day. And those were the days, that my sister and I were a little extra cautious, maybe about, making sure the house was clean or everything was good, so that when mom came home, it would just be a little bit more safe. And so she was having a bad day, and, we struggled lots. Like, we did not have much at all growing up. Like, I really mean, like, there was days when we were trying to figure out how we were going to eat. So,
Wow.
yeah. And so I go into the cupboard and I'm like, okay, I'll find something to make. There's got to be something to make in here. So I go in. There was a can of sweet and sour sauce, a can of tomato sauce, and a box of spaghetti noodles, I remember. And I had been watching some cooking show previously, and I was like, I can throw that into a pot and make it work. Well, I didn't. I burnt it. I messed it up. It was disgusting. But I had set up this table. I got my mom's sewing table because we didn't have a kitchen table. So I got my mom's sewing table out and threw like a little sheet over it to, like, kind of make it a nice meal for our little family.
Mm-hmm.
And mom kind of, like, took a few bites and retreated to her bedroom. But I never realized it was that exact moment that I felt like such a letdown. Like, I couldn't just do this one thing. Like, I couldn't just make her happy. I couldn't have just made this food right. But I obviously didn't. I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 12. And then that was also the moment that I had unconsciously decided, like, I have to take care. It's my job to take care of this family. I have to do better. I have to do better. And oh my God, that's what was happening in the kitchen the other night. But did I have the best release after recognizing that? Because, something, since that age, so, my time is going to be 30.
That's pretty amazing to have that self-awareness at that age.
I mean, yes, it can be a burden as well, because you don't know what to do with that information, sort of, right? So I'm standing here in the kitchen, I'm having this release, and then it just all came back to me, because my mother never said, Alicia, you didn't do good enough. She never said that. She's never once said that to me. But I took it that way, and I internalized it. And I'm going to try not to cuss. I'm going to try so hard not to cuss. But,
you can totally cuss. It's my show.
I just said, shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because then this is when it's when everything started kind of spiraling after that, because I was just chasing this. No, watch me. I'm good enough. No, I can do this. Look how good I am. Just let me make you happy. Whatever you need to make you happy. But, I had nobody to tell me, Alicia, that can get really dangerous, And so I had been kind of looking for that, what I was missing that didn't happen that day with my mom, obviously. And she was very distant. She was a very distant mom. She wasn't home very much. And I did actually have to take care of my little baby sister. And so, but, that led to me, kind of hanging out with older crowds. And by older crowds, I mean older men.
Yeah.
Men. And looking for that in them.
Just to confirm, men or teenage boys?
Teenage boys and men.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that the audiences, there is probably some people in the audience that were like, yeah, been there. Yeah.
Well, and and again, around that time, this is when, I had everybody saying to me, it was always, Alicia, you're so beautiful. You're such a pretty girl. Oh my God, you look older than you are. Oh, wow. And, every guy wanted to, like, have sex with Alicia. But my God, I was a child. I didn't know. I thought, oh, good. I'm worth something. I have something. I have something here. So I'm going to use it. But again, what do you do when you're a child? Nobody tells you how to use that. So you end up in these dangerous situations. And I actually did. I ended up in the sex industry very young. I was about 16 years old when I had the owners of this strip club that was back home kind of approach me and ask me if I wanted to be in a movie. And again, oh, I get to be famous and you're going to take care of me and you're going to, like I have
you're
that
really
thing.
seduced into that world because you're at the core of us. We just want to feel loved, safe, and belong.
Always.
And so here is a world where you feel very validated in your worth falsely.
Well, yes. And so that kind of started that. And I mean, there had been drugs and all this stuff that was involved. I started using drugs around the age that I was 12 as well. I found out that who I thought was my father was not my father at that same time. I found out that my real father actually lived across the street from me and I had seen him multiple times. I mean, that's
a whole story in itself that just, because you are actually Black.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
But my mother is Black. My mother is Black. So I grew up with a Black mother looking like this.
Yes.
With the rest of my Black family. But I didn't know my father. He's white and I really look like my father. Oh my God. Do I ever look like him?
Wow. Yeah.
And so
you and I have jammed so much about growing up looking like a Caucasian woman, but being mulatto, right? And so that confusion there as well, I'm sure fed into your confusion around who you are and your identity.
I mean, it does really, right? Because it's just this back and forth again. It's all again of, am I enough? Am I white enough? Am I Black enough? Mm-hmm. And I know that's going to sound silly to people, but it's not. It is very much an actual thing that happens, especially within our Black community, like color thing. So here I am again, trying to just be all of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets exhausting after a while, but you kind of also start to find new, different ways to kind of, it doesn't feel right. When you're people pleasing, something doesn't feel right, whether you know what that is or not.
Yeah.
And so again, like then I'm turning to alcohol and I'm getting involved with all the wrong people. And I ended up moving out here actually when I was 19. I think it was 19 when I moved out to Alberta. And my family was sick of my shit. I just think they were done. I was very free and open about I never tried to hide the things that I was doing. And so my family was just like, oh my God, this kid. And they actually ended up just saying, I wasn't welcome around my family anymore. And that was all that I felt like I had. So I left and moved out here with $20 in a suitcase.
Wow.
Little country song.
Totally a country song. That takes so much guts and courage. Even if it seemed like there's no, I'm sure like on some level, no other option, quote unquote, but like, wow, does that ever take so much courage? I want to go a little bit deeper. What was that deciding factor for you to move out west?
Well, I mean, honestly, there had been a day. So again, like we were very close. Like this family, I'm talking like my cousins were my best friends. Like family dinners were just an all the time thing.
Yeah.
And so when this situation happened and my family told me I wasn't welcome anymore, I was just like, what am I going to do? And I remember going to visit one of my other cousins and saying like, what is going on? Like Yes, I was, had myself involved in some stuff, but I was like, what happened to actually make the family say that? And he looked at me dead in my eye and said, I never want to see you again either. And that killed me. Wow. And so I just left, and I had a friend who had lived out here. And this was around the time when all the money, like the big boom was kind of going on.
Yes.
So I said, I'm going to move down and I'm going to make something out of myself. And so I got into the sex industry out here. Not quite the idea I had in my head when I said that, but.
And you were already involved in the sex industry back in New Brunswick, is that correct?
Yes, but again, I was underage. Not gonna, now knowing the language that I know and having all the experience that I have, no, I wasn't in the sex industry. I was being trafficked by older men.
Wow.
That's what was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you got into the industry here in Alberta.
Yeah.
And then, like, how many years were you in that, and what was that lifestyle like?
So it was from about 2007 until about 2012, on and off. So when I moved here, I mean, I had no money. We almost didn't have a place to live, the friend that I moved out here with.
Yeah.
And I saw an ad in the newspaper that said make $4,000 to $5,000 a week. That's all that it said. And you call and book an interview. It didn't have the name or anything. But I mean, again, it was around the boom. So I thought, oh, that must be what people are talking about.
Yeah.
Go for an interview, took a taxi there, used that last $20 on the taxi. Because listen, I'm from a small city. You do not spend $20 on a taxi. If you're spending $20 on a taxi, you're in the next fucking city, okay? Like, so I had to get this job. Like that was in my head. Like, I don't even know what it is that I show up to. I'm taking it. And so determined. I didn't want to go home because I didn't want to be a failure. I didn't want to be what my family already thought that I was.
Right.
So I was really willing to go to any extreme at that point. And also, I mean, I'm walking into what they're called now. I don't know what language the viewers will know, so I'll use brothel is probably the one you would know. I call it a studio. I walk in and there's these beautiful women, these expensive cars. They had the bag, they had the whole thing. And this studio was nicer than any damn home I ever lived in. So I said, I think I could do this. I think I could do this. Again, that naivete that was in me at that time, and the desperation, and you know,
absolutely, yeah. Well, really on survival,
constant survival mode. And you know, the other thing though with that industry is that now I was a bouncer. So there's some women that will stay at the one studio and they're kind of there and that's their place. And I had to bounce around everywhere. But there was certain times and you kind of build this family. It's like, you know, like you have this thing in common because listen, even though there's the bag and the car and the expense of this and the trips and the that, listen, like there's a real dark side to it too. And there's still a huge stigma around it. So you know, we gravitated towards each other and we kind of became a family. And I'm smiling as I'm saying it now because I actually do really appreciate that. But I was missing my family, my real family. And so it's so easy to get sucked into that, you know. You got all these people around you all the time that are kind of willing to go to bat for you. Not all of them, because there's some terrible things that happen too. I mean, it's a bunch of, you know.
I am sure there's a lot of interesting stories that have both like that sense of heartfelt family and love energy, and then there's probably a lot of backstabbing and right, where like lots of sister wounds happening. It's a mixture. Just it's so fascinating. You gotta write your book.
I will. It's coming.
Good.
But yeah, so I had a bittersweet relationship with it because, you know, then there'd be days where, I mean, a bad day at work in that industry isn't just like, oh, I had a shitty day. Like a bad day at work could mean you got raped at work. A bad day at work could mean you got robbed at work. You know, a bad day at work could be
when you say you were bouncing around, were you going to these clients' homes or like what did that look like?
Yeah, so I did when I like something, I just go for it. And I dive full there if I decide I'm doing something. So I just go all in. So I was working in the studios, but I was also doing escorting. So where I would be going to hotels and yes, clients' homes as well. their homes was when a lot of dangerous things happened, but a lot of dangerous stuff happened right in the studio. Tons of things. Tons of things that happened in that studio, you know. And I was traveling as well. So I'd travel all over Canada and go work at different studios and go work for different agencies. And I also did adult film, which is the tasteful word for it, but we're talking about pornography. I also did that too. And like, I just threw myself into it. And I think it was easy for me though, because I already had that people pleaser. And so you're constantly have these people, I mean, a healthy way, you know, but you have these people kind of constantly, you know, saying how, thank you for making me happy, you know, and then my little, well, I'll call it my 12-year-old self. Yes. My inner child was like, yay, 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 you know.
Absolutely. She's being so fed because she was so starving for love. For actual love. Yeah.
And you know, then I'd take time off again because really bad things happened. And I mean, there's things when somebody experiences I probably should have said content or trigger warning, but when somebody experiences sexual assault, rape, again, whichever language people choose to say, I'm going to call it what it is, it's rape. When that happens once, I mean, that sticks with you for life.
Absolutely.
But when this happens again and again and again and again and again and again, your body like starts to actually dissociate for you. I mean, you know this, you know all of this, right? And so you kind of just get into this, like, it's just like this loop, like you're on loop, sort of, you know what I mean, all the time.
And you and to survive, you do need to dissociate from your body.
Well, and I mean, you're in this industry where you're actually changing your name, changing your hair color, friend.
Your whole
they
identity.
Have your entire identity. They even told me, because again, while yes, I have incredibly white, you know, presenting skin, it's still, people know people's question, oh, what are you mixed with? You've got to be mixed with something. I wasn't allowed to say that I was Black.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that you could not be showing your actual true identity. Is that correct? Is that why?
No, because they when the men would call to book, they'd say something along like, who's working today? So they would list the name of the women, and then they would say, can you give me their description? And they describe you from your head to your toes to, you know, I mean, every damn thing. If you get an eyelash out of place. So when they're describing you, because the men don't want Black women.
Yeah.
They didn't want that name to kind of, you know, they didn't want it to deter the men from coming in, which was so ridiculous because, I mean, for so many reasons, that's ridiculous.
Absolutely. Wow. We're going to pause here. Thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge you, Alisha, but like, it takes so much fucking guts and courage to be sharing what you are sharing right now. And I know that you've shared your story being a keynote speaker and very much out there. Actually, when we come back from commercial, we'll actually look at like what did that look like as you turn things around for yourself?
Yeah, let's do the turning point.
Like, this is such a powerful story. And I know that the audience is really like sitting on the edge of their seats going, wow, like this is, for many of us, this probably isn't even part of our world. And I would feel like for a part of us, other people tuning in, they can relate because they have been through similar experiences themselves. So thank you for being the voice for this. Really appreciate you. All right, my loves, we will be back.
OMTimes TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
Are you feeling maxed out working one-on-one with clients and you're deeply desiring to scale your business for more time freedom without sacrificing your income, but rather expanding it? Many of my clients who are lightworkers, healers, practitioners, and even coaches, they're often multi-modality, are coming to me because they are sick and tired of working with clients on a one-off session model where the clients are coming in on an as-need basis. Or if they're selling packages, they are selling them in the sense of buy 5, get 1 free, or the greater the number of sessions, the greater the discount. The problem with this is it's still a dollar for hours business model. And so that leaves the practitioner feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed from having to put so much time, effort, and energy in finding new clients that they're not operating in their most elevated self with their current clients. And so if this is you, I would love to share with you that it's time to elevate your business and scale it to sell high ticket one-on-one programs or even group programs. This will allow you to have more deeper impacts because you're raising your clients' results, you're scaling your business, and you're having that time freedom you deeply are yearning for. If this is resonating with you, love, I'd love to invite you to come on a soul business alignment call with me so that you can stop feeling like you're on this roller coaster ride and start to feel safe and stable and even having fun in your business and your finances. Please go to electrifymybusiness.com to apply and we'll hop on a call. I can't wait to connect.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hi loves, welcome back. If you're just joining us now, you absolutely want to rewind this and watch the beginning of Alicia's story. So just in this journey here in your story where you have entered the sex trade, how long were you in there for until, what shifted you to go, I don't want this anymore?
Well, I will just keep it very brief because I actually don't like going into too much detail about this, but I actually had two, I'm going to call them what they are. They're traffickers, but in the fancy world and whatever, you call them pimps. And so I knew I had gotten involved. They had me under their thumb, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. And I knew that I was in a really dangerous situation, and I never thought that I would have ended up in that situation. So I came up with some excuse I remembered one of my friend's phone numbers, and I texted him really quickly from the work phone, and I said, call this number back, say you want to book blank, because I don't want to use my work name, what it was then. Say you want to book me, request that I bring lots of outfits so I could get my bags out. And I said, that's it. Don't ask any more questions. And he ended up coming and picking me up and getting me out of there. Yeah, he's actually, he's gone now. And so I never got to tell him that he actually saved my life that day. But I was very grateful for him. And then I met my first husband after that. And it was nice to, it was nice to kind of be with someone who wasn't involved in that world. But he ended up getting involved with a lot of folks that weren't very good people not too long after we got married. And I got put on the back burner completely, like put on the shelf, taken out when I need it to be dusted off and look pretty and, be kind of paraded around to make my husband look good. And, he deals with all of his own stuff too. So I'm not going to talk too ill of him, but we weren't right. And,
would you say you were still in that people pleasing mindset?
I was, but something shifted for me in a bowling alley one day. I knew I had dreams, I know, a bowling alley. I had dreams because, I knew what I was going through after leaving the industry. I didn't feel right. I needed something, and I felt like I had nobody to talk to. So I wanted to make my own peer support group for other women that were trying to exit. So we could just kind of have each other. And I kept saying to my husband, what you're involved in is going to conflict what I'm trying to do one day. And and so here I am, I'm up for this job to work for this organization, to end all sexual exploitation. Try that again. Sexual exploitation. And somebody phoned me and said, they know who your husband's involved with, and they're thinking about not considering you for this position. And so I'm at this bowling alley, I'm with my friends. Here I go to roll my ball. And I went, wait, there's one pin here and one on the far right, like one on the far right and one on the far left. And I was like, shit, which pin am I supposed to hit? I dropped the ball right there because something was like, you have to pick one, Alicia. Like, there's going to be consequences.
So analogous to your path at that point.
Yeah. And so I said to my friends, you got to bring me home. I went home. I looked at my husband. I sat him down, and I had prayed over, and I am not I'm not someone who prays. And I prayed for about 3 weeks before this, saying, please, like, if whoever is listening to me, I can't do this anymore, but I'm not strong enough to go through a fight. So you have to let this go smoothly. So I sat him down. I grabbed his hands. I looked at him and I said, listen, here's how I'm seeing this right now. There's 3 options. The first one is I'm your wife and you love me and you're going to remove yourself from this group of people. Option 1. Option 2, I'm your wife and you love me, but you feel like you have worked hard for this and this is your jam. And, you kind of found your calling and your people. So you're going to let me go. Or the third option is I'm going to be a stupid woman and stay here and let you follow these ridiculous dreams of yours. They're ridiculous, and I'm never going to be able to help other women. And I'm going to die if I stay in this relationship. And I said, we know that third thing isn't happening. So pick one of the first 2.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I'll let you go. And that was the moment in that bowling alley that I chose. I knew what was going to happen. And I chose myself, because I said, I'm not going to take anything less than what I just said to you.
I just want the audience to breathe that in. Like, whatever your situation is, obviously your story might be different than Alicia's, but if you can really take that in, that you can choose yourself. It is not selfish to choose yourself. This is for in situations where you're noticing, you're compromising, you're squishing some part of yourself, you're playing small just to make other people feel comfortable. But you're not, it's not a win-win. It's time to put yourself first. And I know that isn't easy. So beautiful, Alisha, that you stood your ground. You owned your power in that. moment. That's really huge and so freaking difficult to have those conversations with your then husband. Like, wow, because that is life-changing.
It completely changed my life. And this is the biggest message that I have for anybody who's watching today or listening in on the podcast is you have to do it. Like I'm telling you, just recognizing that you have people pleasing tendencies, that's just the beginning. That is just the beginning, friend. Okay? Because you've been working from secondhand energy, sort of. This entire time, right?
I love that way. It totally is secondhand energy, and it just energetically takes you out.
Secondhand, what do we think of? No, listen, I love a good thrift, so let's not put down a thrift store because I love a good thrift.
Actually, this is from a thrift store.
I was like, is this one? Oh no, mine's from well, one of us is.
It's the best. I love it.
Right? Okay, so they are nice, but what does it mean? Hand it down from someone else, already used by someone else. So when you're trying to get your life going, you're trying to build your dreams, and you keep people, places, and projects that are just keeping you distracted, you're working from that secondhand energy. So it's not yours. So eventually you are going to look in the mirror and you're not going to recognize yourself anymore. And I mean that. Like, I can guarantee that's what's going to happen. If you do it right now. If you're listening and you have been struggling with people pleasing, just choose yourself right now. One thing that I did, one little exercise that I like to do, I do it at the end of the night because my brain is always all over the place. So I set a timer for 2 minutes and I do a brain dump. And this is different than like writing in your journal or a diary. I mean, if the color orange pops in your head, you bullet point form the color orange. If it's being on Rosa's TV show tomorrow, got to make lunch for whatever is on your mind, you do that. When the 2 minutes is done, you're done. And do it for 3 days in a row. And then go back and look at all the shit you're doing and that's on your mind on a regular basis and start going, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. And, start big, start small, or go big, whichever you want, but you have to do it, because then comes now, all of the letting go and recognizing all the areas that you've been using this survival tool, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to feel like you can fit in and belong and be what we'll say likes, right? And I always say, you're in the same energy, our purpose be liked. That has nothing to do with our purpose. In fact, I always say, if you're not polarizing people, you're not going big enough, you're not going bold enough, because we should be polarizing people. We're not for everybody.
We're not for everyone, and we need to stir some stuff up. I actually I did get that job, by the way, for that organization that I was talking about. And I ended up getting it 2 weeks later. I phoned them. I said, I left him. Can I have the job now? Like, that was it. I was done playing small. Wow. Like, here's where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I got to travel around Canada. I got to share my story. I got to work with other women that were going through the same thing. I got to work with Paul Brandt and his organization, our Canadian country singer here. He was also my childhood crush.
Manifested.
I did that. Little old me, little 10-year-old me. But it was great. But again, why I'm saying right here is to just decide right now to choose yourself, because I still had to work through all of that while I was living my dream. I thought, here we are. Everything's going to be great. But guess what? I started doing all the same stuff again. Well, what do you want me to say when I go on stage? What do you want me to talk about? What should I wear? What should I not do? And I started losing pieces of myself, and I was losing the biggest piece of myself, which is my sexuality, because that's my creativity, that's my everything, that's, I started losing that. And then I had to just, again, go, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. What's happening here? And I told, again, my childhood crush, I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to work for you guys. I don't want to be a poster child. I will not do it. I will not do it. I'm going to take off.
And
And
I love how this is like layers of that analogy of shedding your skin, right?
yes,
Like you're really that snake that's shedding its skin. And transformation doesn't just come over like a night. It
no,
literally is time over time over time and experiences. And it's so profound to hear how you notice the people pleasing aspect didn't change, even though you stood your ground and set some boundaries, like, oh, here it is again. And I just want to say, even in business, it shows up, right? Business is a personal and professional development, spiritual development. It's just like along the journey as you're putting yourself out there, as you're showing up authentically, all our shit can come up. And it's like, oh, I didn't really want to say that. Why did I say that?
right.
That's not really my voice. Who am I trying to please? So it's really incredible. How many people are liking my post? How many followers are like, who's liking me? Who's not liking me? Who's I'm like, oh my God, can we please stop?
Just for a little minute, just a little minute. And I know that better than anyone because, my God, you've actually got to watch a lot of this journey for me. How many times have I launched something or started and restarted over and over? And this is why, because I wasn't being as authentic and, honoring myself as much as I could have. And so very recently I recognized, okay, here we go again. Something's going to change. And I went, it's in the boundary. It's like when you're setting your boundaries from a people pleasing place, you're still not setting the boundaries really for yourself. So I had someone give me this analogy of, because through doing all of this work, I've gone, lately my boundaries seem happy. Like they seem like they're coming from a different place. And this person said to me, well, yeah, Alisha, because when your boundaries are collaborative, it's going to feel different. So it's like saying, okay, you know what? I will meet you on this bridge, but you can't bring weapons. There's me setting my boundaries, but let's be collaborative. But when you're coming from this people pleasing, all of that kind of secondhand energy, your boundaries are like barbed wire fences. Like nobody can get through. So how are you going to call in your soulmate clients? How are you going to manifest all these things when you got this big ass barbed wire fence around you? No, friend, I'm done. And I fully mean that now, because since I made that decision, which was very recently, my relationships are all so different now. I mean, like husband, like the way that I'm interacting with potential clients, the way I'm interacting with my son, like there's a lot of shadow work to do when you are trying to go into business.
Yeah. And thank you so much for, again, being so vulnerable and saying like, look, like I'm still continuing to evolve. I mean, I'm also one to say that as well. It's not like all of a sudden life is perfect and things are, fine and dandy and there's no need to change anymore because you're exactly where you need to be. It's so beautiful to see your process, and congratulations. I always say to, you've heard me say this before, to my community, that like, it's okay if you decide to change your mind, because it means you're getting closer to your truth. And that does look exactly like what you've been doing, is shedding more skin, changing, and just getting more clarity, because you're getting closer to the core of who you really are.
I had to stop looking at everything. I had to stop looking at everything as failure. Like, yes, I can change my mind, because every single time I've changed my mind, just like you said, I'm getting closer. And we just need to stop looking at failure as a bad word. It's always carried this negative kind of thing, cloud behind it, but it just means you tried.
Yes.
Okay. You start a business, it didn't work. You tried. You started a sober journey. Maybe you slipped up one day. You tried. It's not a failure. And then I think the other thing where people get stuck is, will I commit it to this? But I committed to it, so I can't change my mind. And again, commitment, that carry that dark cloud kind of behind it too, but it doesn't have to mean that, because guess what? Here's what I'm saying. I will commit to this thing until or unless it doesn't feel right for me anymore.
Yeah, until there's no more alignment.
Because
Absolutely.
you can't let yourself get stuck. You can't let yourself get stuck there because, oh, well, I said I was going to do it. Well, if it wasn't right for you, it wasn't right for you.
And everything. And I always say my biggest, most profound lessons come expensively, whether they're emotionally and or financially, right? But like, this is really the key piece is it's really important that when things are not going along like the way that we want to, we need to look at, self-reflect and look at what is really here for me to learn. What are the soul lessons here? What am I repeating that isn't serving, supporting? And where do I want to be instead? How do I want to feel instead? And find the path to close those gaps from where you are right now to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's so deeply important.
Yeah, it is. And just through this whole process, it's brought me back to that 11-year-old, you know how they always say, go back to when things were, they were okay, before things kind of got, well, I said, oh shit, I was 11. Okay. I wanted to speak. I had something to say and I wanted to share it. And, that's my gift. I've been trying to put together these 6-week programs and this and that and the other thing. And that's so great for some people, but guess what? It is not working, honey. I am a scatterbrain. I can go from this story to that story, and next week I want to be, like I just want to speak. I have a story. I have stories, and I want to share that. And if it can help somebody, like that's where it's at for me right now.
Absolutely. And I know that as those who are tuning in live and on the replay, they're going to get so much messages out of this for themselves to really like sit with. And actually I like to really close our show with just really breathing into some of these golden nuggets that you drops in here today, Alisha with an A. But before we do, let me ask, how can people get a hold of you? We'll be in the show notes, but also, where can they follow you? If people want to book you in as a guest speaker on their platforms, how can they get connected?
Instagram, that's all I do right now. Again, the scatterbrain. So Alisha with an A, it's just exactly how it's showing up. Right? Exactly. But my link tree is in there. So as things are going on, I'll add them. So that's the best way. And just send me a DM if you want to book me, and let's see if it feels right for both of us as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on here and just for sharing your heart, sharing your story, and just being who you are, love. You're so inspiring. So
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So in these last 2 minutes, I'm just going to have us all just tune in and just really reflect on what in this whole episode really is standing out for you right now. You don't have to try to analyze why. Just notice what was being shared and just notice how it's landing in your energetic field. Just breathing that in. And my sense is, as I'm tuning in, it is something around really taking yourself to that next level of fearlessness, of being bold, of being unapologetic. What would that thing be that you've been kind of hiding, holding yourself back on? And you've heard Alicia's story today and how bravely she shared such dark times and how she transformed it. Let this be an inspiration for you. Let this be a catalyst for you. So just breathing into what it is that you want to create for yourself in your next level version of you. Breathing in. Let's activate this with light language. Morakia sirakurati nerakurakia sirakurati nerakuratia nerakuratia nerakuratia. It's safe for you to have your voice. It's safe for you to speak your truth. Morakia sirakurati nerakur. The more you show up, the more your soul tribe is magnetized towards you. Morakia sirakurati nerakuratia. Breathing in. Suspending your breath, conjuring in your power. And then as you breathe out through your solar plex, your power center, and just really feel your aura field, this beautiful bubble around you with your soul's essence, with your power, with your light. Breathing in one more time and anchoring down, rooting down like roots of a tree. Let Mother Earth hold you in your essence and let the ripple effects already begin. So it is. Just hang up the sensations. And staying here as long as you like. And when you're ready, you can very slowly and gently bring your awareness back into your space. Thank you so much for being here, love. I so appreciate you. Please do connect with Alisha with an A on Instagram. You'll be able to connect with her and find her on my grid and my stories at Bold Sexy Warrior. I'd love for you guys to leave a review on Apple iTunes. Give this a shout out. Tag us. And thank you so much, love.
Thanks.